by death. But those people, some of the people are coming out and defending the victims of blasphemy in Pakistan, risking their own life and putting their own life in line. And Mr. Saif-ul-Malook is one of them. He has been defending the victims of blasphemy law in Pakistan for a long, long time. And today we have the honor of hosting him on this particular show, and we are going to talk to him. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. So in 2011, a Punjab governor, Mr. Salman Taseer, who openly supported Asia Bibi, he was shot down by his own bodyguard, and you kind of fought that case, and you made sure that the perpetrator, that the bodyguard was awarded the death penalty. What compelled you to take up that case when nobody else was taking it?
Yeah, I think that was one of the worst timings in Pakistan's history on this blasphemy issue, when really all the religious parties, including the religious political parties, and you'll be surprised, even the lawyers from the twin city of Islamabad and Rawalpindi, number in thousands, they were declaring the murderer Mumtaz Qadri, the police officer, as hero. And very, very well-read people, even today. It's not only religious people, it's lawyers, doctors, across the board. There are many people who think that he was a saint and he did a great job. But the Supreme Court of Pakistan, in its historical judgment, declared him a terrorist and awarded him death sentence also for the offense of terrorism and also for the offense of murder. He was acquitted from the offense of terrorism by the Islamabad High Court in appeal, but on state appeal, the Supreme Court overturned the judgment of the Islamabad High Court and say no, offense of terrorism is also proved. And why I took it? Yeah, that's a very important question. I think in the histories of the nation, sometimes comes when somebody has to stand up. And I'm proud of it that this was me who stood up at that very time when it was demand of the nation and need of the time. And
Correct.
I'm not repenting. I never repented. I always said that I stood by my duty. And yes.
Correct. But after his death sentence, he was kind of given a hero's funeral. Did it disappoint you that he was, by the people, he was treated as a hero?
No, I told you already that a lot of a great majority in the various section of the people, including the lawyers and the other educated people, he's still taken as a hero. And there were millions of people who participated in his funeral. And I remember I was traveling from Lahore to Islamabad, although I was stopped not to leave the house for 3 days. And all the roads were filled by the people going for his funeral. Yes, even now there's a big place where he's buried, where people are going, making prayer, the God give us son and this and that. So he's now treated as a saint nowadays.
Okay. The next controversial, one of the biggest controversial cases in Pakistan regarding the blasphemy law, which also made international headlines, was the case of Asia Bibi. Now, you also defended her in the court. What was the experience like? Because this particular case was the highly polarized one, and it also got international attention.
Yeah, that case actually took two most people's life. First was the governor of the Punjab, Salman Taseer. was killed because he was supporting Asia Bibi. Then a federal minister of Pakistan who was a Christian, Mr Shahbaz Bhatti, he was murdered because he was supporting Asia Bibi. So all these events make the more publicity to the Asia Bibi's case. And she lost her appeal before the Lahore High Court. She was sentenced to death by the district judge. Her appeal was dismissed. And I think she was almost in a close state when it came. And this was the Supreme Court of Pakistan, the last court, where the first of all you have to file a petition. Appeal, right of appeal ends in the High Court. And if the Supreme Court considered that yes, the petition raised such a constitutional question, that the appeal be again heard by the Supreme Court. So first we crossed that step. The Supreme Court allowed us to file the appeal. And on the day of its hearing, and particularly on the day of announcement of judgment, which was first the judgment was reserved for 3 weeks, and after the announcement, which was made at 10:05 in the morning, within 10 minutes whole the country was standstill. The roads
Correct.
were blocked, and then I had to leave the country within 3 days. I landed in Netherlands. I was granted the permanent residence, including for my family. But again, a review petition came up for hearing in January. And I have to come back to attend that review petition and surrendering my right of that permanent residence in Netherlands. So since then, I'm living here, and now I'm doing a case of a second Christian woman on death row on the allegations of blasphemy, who is sentenced to death along with her husband also. Both are sentenced to death.
Could you
And
tell us something about this particular case that you are talking about? What exactly happened in that particular case?
in this, the woman's name is Shagufta Kausar and her husband's name is Shafqat Masih. The husband is paralyzed, he can't move since 2004, and they are uneducated totally. And the complainant of that case, he reported to the police that on 18th of July 2013, while he was offering his Travi prayers in Ramadan, he received a text message at about 10:15 in the night, when he read from an unknown number. These are abusive to the Muslim Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then he went to a lawyer. After 2 days, on 20th, got an application written from him, and then went to the police station and got registered a case against unknown person. And then this man says that then I went to the telephone company, although this is not his job. This is the job of investigating agency. Now he has himself became the investigator, which Supreme Court in Asia Bibi's case said that the complainant cannot be the investigator. And if he'll be investigator, will not accept his evidence. So he says, I went to the mobiling company's office in that area and asked which person you have issued this number, from which I got this message. So they told me that we issued this number to the Shagufta Kausar and her husband Shafqat Masih, and then I gave to the police that these are the accused. So then they were arrested, and they got a confession statement from the this Shafqat Masih, and he confessed that yes, I did it, but my wife didn't know it. I bought the SIM of the telephone, and I did everything. But in spite of this, even if we accept this confession statement, then there is no evidence against Shagufta, who is also sentenced to death, and she is behind the bar since 2013. And then that confession statement was recorded against the law laid down by the Supreme Court of Pakistan and against the rules laid down by the Lahore High Court and the Lahore High Court rules and order, which says that a consent statement has to be recorded during the one. Two, once in recorded, no is present room. But in this case, it was a Ramzan, and at 6:30 you have to unfast. And 6:30, this magistrate says that I'm sitting in my court, and police has brought the accused, and it is strange. The court time was then till 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So what this magistrate is sitting 6:30 in his courtroom with his whole staff, there's no answer in the whole evidence. So it looks, it's a cooked and manipulated affair. The magistrate was taken by the police official, and they maneuvered all this. And even in the confession statement proceeding, magistrate is written in writing that police, he was in handcuff when I recorded his statement. So that is no statement in the eyes of law. So I would say without any evidence. Now, what is the evidence? The receipt from that telephone franchise that we sold the SIM to Shafqat. They didn't say that we sold this SIM to the Shagufta.
Correct.
That is the whole evidence, with absolutely no evidence according to the evidence laws. And they're suffering for last 6-7 years in prison.
You see, these victims who are charged under the blasphemy law, they face a sort of alienation, and they become easy target of the hardliner mobs. It's sort of, I have read somewhere that before the trial even begins, a lot of them even face violence from the people in their surroundings as well. So what are your comments on this?
That is correct. I would say wherever the religion comes, it is not only here in India. Somebody is complaining, is having a cause flush with him, and mob goes and slaughters them. I mean, this religion, wherever it comes, it overpowered the reasons and the logic and the law and the mob mentality around the world. It's a common. There's no distinction if they are the Americans, if they are the Pakistanis, if they are the
Correct.
Indian, or yeah. So there had been many times people killed by the mobs. It was once in Gujranwala, then it was once in Kusur, where the mob put husband and wife. They were also Christian couple. In the Brooklyn fire, they put them in. They were burned alive.
So what happens to these people? Are they prosecuted or not?
Usually, even if they are prosecuted, no strong evidence would come against them. I mean, it's not like as the blasphemous is prosecuted, the mob people who will kill these blasphemous, they will not be prosecuted in that way. Because in blasphemous prosecution, the emotions of the police, of the judge, of the lawyers for the complainant, they're all overpowered by the religion. Everybody, the investigating officer, police, the judge who's trying, the lawyers who are doing their cases, everybody is for paradise. Nobody is for justice. All feel that probably if such and such person who is alleged for blasphemy, if is hanged, we all will be earning the paradise. Although it is against the basic verses of Quran. The Quran says, O people, if you kill one innocent, remember that means you have killed all the people on this universe. And then for the Prophet Muhammad, for whose this law is enacted, he said it's much better if you acquit 99 guilty instead of convicting one innocent. So neither the Quran says nor the Prophet says, but all these volunteers, I mean, they're doing all these things. This is not demand of the religion, I think, nor demand from the God in his book. But it's
So,
socially, I think, social issue rather.
there have been calls for reforming this particular law, blasphemy law, in the last few years from several people in Pakistan. There have been movements against this. Activists are voicing their opinions against this particular law, blasphemy law. So, what do you think? The political parties, however, on the other hand, seem very reluctant to touch this particular law. Why is it so that the political parties in Pakistan are so afraid to touch this law or even talk about reforming this particular law?
I'm myself afraid of talking, and I will not talk anything about this question. I mean, this has to be better asked to the parliamentarian or the people who can do it. That as far as I'm concerned, I'm simply a lawyer. I'm not a religious scholar, I'm not a politician, I'm a professional lawyer. Whichever law is in field in the country, have to work according to the law. Law is good or not good. This is for the sociologists, the parliamentarian, and even the judges of the superior courts. They also write sometime in judgments their comments that yes, such and such law should be modified. So this is not my domain to say anything on this.
Okay, okay, fair enough,
Yeah.
fair enough, sir. Sir, my last question is, not only the victims of the blasphemy law, but also those who defend them face a lot of threat. I'm sure you might have also faced a lot of threat in the past as well. Even the judges who hear this case might be fearing about their lives as well. So, what do you say? Have you faced any such kind of threats in the past while you were defending Asia Bibi, or even now when you are defending the Christian couple?
I think this is part of the deal. If you have to do such things, you face all these threats and all these consequences. Recent in Multan, professor of a university there, Mr. Junaid Hafiz, who is a graduate from the United States, he was teaching English. He was arrested for blasphemy in 2013, and one of his lawyers was killed in his office, and now he's sentenced to death, and he's waiting for his plea. So I think anybody who enters in this field and wants to do all these blasphemy cases, he must be mentally ready. I remember when I was going to start this prosecution of Mumtaz Qadri, A friend of mine was the district police officer of Islamabad, where this case has happened. And I was sitting in his office. Still, I was not nominated by the federal government. And he smilingly put out 2, 3 letters in front of me. He said, "You are going to be the special prosecutor. Please read these letters." And these letters were addressed to the senior superintendent of police, Islamabad, that we know you, we know your kids, and this is our telephone number. We'll kill your kid, blah, 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 blah. And he said, "Have you read?" I said, "Read." I said, "Do you feel normal still? And if you are fearful, then don't take this case." So, I mean, all these things, they are a package. So when you do it, you have to face the consequences, you have to face the threats and everything. And they are constant. They'll continue till you live. They'll never reduce because these religious things, they're very deep effects upon the people's emotions and the commitment and the feeling. Whenever they'll find chance, they'll react whatever they think that it's good or not. Yes, please.
Yes. The international community, sir, had taken up the Asia Bibi case, so there was a sort of international pressure as well. So, do you think that this particular case of the Christian couple, there should be an international pressure or international, you can say, commentary about this as well?
Yeah, I would say when I went to Europe after Russia's acquittal, I was invited by the Parliament of the European Union to address the Parliament. And this was a great player. Even the Pakistani president, prime minister never had such a chance to address the European Parliament. And after the address, there were questions from the members. And they raised the same which now you've asked. They say, do you think that the pressure of the European Union and the whole world has also added in an acquittal? And I made it very, very clear there. I said, excuse me, the Supreme Court of Pakistan, according to my experience of 20 years working with them, they're quite independent and they only go by the law and the constitution. And I said it was her luck that Justice Asif Said Khan Khosa, who took as the Chief Justice of Pakistan after that case, who is a professor on the criminal side, one very, very learned professor on the criminal side. He became a member of that bench. And I say, round the world, wherever I went, I said, I give all credit to Justice Asif Said Khosa only. Had he not been in the bench, the result of the Asia Bibi's appeal could have been entirely different. So I think it was not result of the pressure, because had it been a result of the pressure, the government's prosecutor general could have gone and said we don't support. You read that judgment, the prosecutor general says we insist that death penalty should be maintained. It is on record. So that means the pressure was not the reason. The reason was maybe my hard work and the inclusion of Justice Asif Said Khosa in that particular bench.
Now, this particular case that you are fighting, it has been, the hearing in this particular case has been postponed to 27th of June. What do you expect from this case?
22nd,
22nd
22nd,
of
second.
22nd,
Yeah.
22nd of June. So, what do you expect from the hearing?
I think I expect the moment case is taken up, because usually the court checks more than 10 appeals a day, and if a case is started, the rest are left over. So the moment it's taken up, it's a case of almost no evidence. And I'm sure they'll get acquittal from the Lahore High Court. I'm certain.
Well, I hope for your victory as well. Let the court decide the rest. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.